Hey guys, welcome back to Marsha Speaks. This is Marsha, and we're going to be reviewing Total Bella's S5E7. So let's get started right into the episode. The episode starts off right where we left off, with Nikki finally determining whether or not she's pregnant, or more specifically, with the family trying to force her to find out whether or not she's pregnant. And we find out she's not pregnant. It was a pregnancy scare, and low key, I think we all kind of knew it because just the math didn't make sense for her to be pregnant at that time. But anywho, Artem comes in a little bit earlier than when she's about to take the pregnancy test, and when they find out that whether or not she's pregnant, they find out that she's not. And Artem looks so sad when he found out that she wasn't pregnant. And I just found it also so interesting that he very much wants kids, and he really does see himself living with and being with Nikki, which is a beautiful thing to see. But also, you kind of see, that was goes with my question last week about whether or not we think that Artem married her and is with her because of his baby. Not necessarily in a mean way, but I do think that Artem and them probably rushed the relationship just a little bit because they found out that she was pregnant. That's my theory anyways. But anywho, from there, we find out that Nikki is living with Brie in her guest room while Nikki's house is being renovated in the next section over, and Artem is still living in LA. To top that, Artem is going to London to defend his there's a specific dance. I was thinking bachata, but it's not bachata. Steps, how many steps that you can do in that dance in a period of time, and he has to defend his title in the Guinness Book of World Records, which is actually pretty cool. And he of course has to go to London. So after Nikki notes that Brie and Bryan's intimacy has decreased, she asks later on in the episode when they're doing a double date, she asks Brie if her and Artem can stay an extra 3 weeks because of course the house is being renovated next door and they need more time. Brie of course says yes, but of course you kind of see Bryan hesitant about this, and I was like, yo, what's going on with that? And we find out it's because Bryan is annoyed that they're staying that long, because when they're there, Brie tends to spend more time with them than with him, and of course their schedule does allot them a lot of time anyways to be with each other. So the fact that she's using the time that they do have with each other with somebody else or with other people is irritating him even more. I think they're both slowly but surely getting to their the end of their ropes. We cut to Brie and Bryan, Bryan and Birdie, coloring in together, having father-daughter time, which was really cute. And you see Brie come in and start explaining how they're trying to schedule a date night. Back in the day, before the kids, before the businesses, they used to just be spontaneous with the date night. Now they have to be more intentional with it, and they're scheduling it. However, because both of their schedules are so hectic, it is so hard for them to find one. I think in the end, I don't think they found one, or if they did, they had to do a lot of twisting and turning to find it. But if you guys have seen some of my previous super old videos from when I was in college, I used to do I did a scheduling video, y'all. So I loved how color coordinated Brie's schedule was. You can get a lot of stuff done if you schedule your life out, and organization is everything. If you see my desk right now, you wouldn't think so, but organization and color coordinating is life. So I just thought that was amazing. From there, we see Nikki come into the house before Brie is. We're cutting to later, and there's another time jump, and Artem is coming back from London because again he was defending his title when he was in London, so he's coming back, and I guess that tells you when the time jump is for him to actually go to London and come back. And we see Nikki get into the house before Brie. And Brie, of course, doesn't know. She knows that Nikki was coming back. I guess she was in LA. She was coming back to Arizona to her house that day, but she didn't know what time. So Brie asked Nikki to give her, next time, give her a game plan, an ETA of when when Nikki's coming. That way she can get the room back in order for them to come and get her stuff back out of the guest room into wherever else the storage room needs to be. They were both very snippy with each other. Brie more so than Nikki, and Nikki does talk about how she knows her sister, and this is not like Brie at all. Like, and I agree. Like, I know Brie does like snarky little comments and stuff like that, but this is something different. I think it's also because of the fact that she and Bryan are having issues and trying to really navigate this new world wherein they're both very busy people and they still want to be intimate and work things out. On the other note, we see Artem trying very hard to bond with Bryan, but that is very difficult to do when you kind of don't really have anything in common. And unfortunately for Artem, he asked Bryan to go fishing with him, not remembering that Bryan is like an animal rights activist, like, and he's a vegan, and like fishing probably wouldn't be the best deal for him. And I can understand why Artem thinks that, because for him, like dancing and like socializing, all that stuff is his thing, and he sees Bryan more of like the outdoorsy type, but forgetting not that type of outdoorsy. He's more into yoga. But anyway, to other than just saying no, Bryan explains why he's saying no by saying that this very strange and interesting and very fascinating fish story where he's like, when he was a kid, he went fishing with his dad and his sister, and his dad and his sister is fine, and you see Bryan in the corner crying, like bawling, and then it's because he always, whenever he saw a fish, was people fishing, he always saw himself as the fish, and how like he would be trying to get food and then all of a sudden gets dragged and die and all that stuff. It was like super creepy, but it made sense, but it was just strange. But it goes with Bryan and Bryan's mindset and Bryan's viewpoint in the world. From there, of course, when Nikki and Brie are fighting, because Nikki came home earlier than expected and had her stuff all over the place, and Brie was snapping, one of the things Nikki said was that Bryan doesn't make Artem feel welcome. And I love how this is how you know they're real sisters, right? And me and my sister does this all the time. We do this all the time, wherein we are fighting with each other, but there's certain like snippets of the fight that we will remember and kind of work on later, right? For instance, with Nikki and Brie, while they're fighting about like, oh, give me your ETA and all this like small petty stuff and dishes, Brie remembers that Nikki said that Bryan made Artem feel unwelcome, and later on, Brie talks about this with Bryan when they're looking for like stuff to build a garden. And that was, I guess, their time alone, even though Birdie was there. And she, of course, says this to Bryan, and Bryan kind of initially thought it as a joke and nonchalantly said that, oh, that was my intention, when he later explains that it wasn't his intention. And Bryan feels like Brie is handing him off to Artem because he thinks that they don't have enough time as it is, and the time you do have, instead of spending it with you, you want me to spend it with some guy to bond. And again, I think it's also because they don't know at this point how serious this relationship is between Artem and Bryan. I'm between Artem and Nikki. So what's the point of really getting to know this person when they haven't really gotten far? That's how I would think that mindset is, anyways. But of course, Brie is just trying to get Bryan and Artem to do something, maybe build the garden patio that she wants together again, because Artem is a carpenter. So this is something that would be in his forte, right? Artem comes back from his London trip, and he was very disheartened, and that is mainly because he doesn't get the chance to defend his title. He was just asked to come just to kind of like be the mouthpiece, but not actually get a chance to actually dance or defend it or compete against the person to keep it, which is really disappointing. So during their date night, Nikki kind of drops the bomb on the serious question. So this is like reaffirming that the infatuation phase is over, because she asked Artem, would you still be with me if she couldn't have kids? This is going back to earlier in the episode where Nikki found out that she wasn't pregnant. It was a pregnancy scare, and she was afraid that now that she's getting like beyond 35, she might start having infertility issues. So she wanted to know if she would be able to have children. And Artem says that he doesn't know, but I think the answer will probably be no, and he just doesn't know how to really say it, because Nikki knows that Artem wants to be a father, and if you can't have children, and by can't have children, I mean like you can't have birth children, IVF doesn't work, and you refuse to adopt, then you can't have children. I feel like a lot of people forget that adoption is an option, and if you adopt a child, that is still your child. Period. I don't care what nobody says. Anyways, so that was how I knew that the infatuation phase, like they're finally starting to get some real questions of how they want to build their future. On the other side, we see Brie and Bryan. They are like cooking with Birdie in the kitchen. It was really cute. And they're trying to get their groove back. And Bryan surprises Brie with a date trip wherein the grandmother, Brie's mother, will be watching Birdie for them, and then just them two will be going on a trip together. Bryan planned it out by himself. It's a complete surprise. Of course, Brie finds out where they're going exactly, but everything that they're planning, the activities that they're doing, Bryan is planning it all. She said that this is the first time that he's done this, but I think it's like this is more first time that I might be successful that he's done this. And Brie asks Bryan why is he doing this, and Bryan explains that it's because he really does feel disconnected with her, and that he's trying to be more intentional and getting that intimacy back. And Brie says that Bryan, like, this is going to be a good time for them to talk, since she feels like she's more honest with Bryan than Bryan is with her, mainly because she's a more vocal one, and she said that she can literally see Bryan's feelings, but sometimes Bryan doesn't articulate them because he might be afraid of how Brie may react. And that is true, and Bryan agrees. So it was just interesting to see that we're finally starting to see like the steps towards them building their relationship again. And this is just a low point in the relationship. One of the questions I asked before was whether or not you think that Bryan and Brie will make it. And I'm not like trying to wish this upon anybody, God forbid. But these are real questions that happen in a marriage, and this is just a low point of their marriage, and it's great to see only because it makes it relatable, and maybe other married people can start putting their pride aside and work on the relationship. And it's hard to do sometimes when you always try to figure out who's right, who's wrong, when in actuality at the end of the day you guys are a team. And you guys need to attack the problem, not each other. The episode ends with Brie, Bryan, Artem, and Nikki together. Bryan and Artem are fixing the patio that Brie wanted, that we discussed earlier in the episode. And they're kind of bonding. It's still a little awkward, but you can see that they're both trying, and that was nice. And then we see Brie and Nikki after she sticks her head out from like the little wall that separates you from your neighbor. It was a little creepy, but I guess they have to get used to that because since they're so close to each other, it's gonna be something that they do all the time. It's probably gonna be something that their kids do too, just to like be fun. But anywho, Nikki and Brie go off in a corner and they discuss their like tension, and Brie apologizes for lashing out on Nikki because she was really just frustrated with her relationship with Bryan at the moment, but that is not a reason for you to take it out on somebody else. And I thought that was very mature of them, and that pretty much is how the episode ends. We see in the promo that Artem is having baby fever, and Artem and Brie are discussing possibly Artem proposing. So now we're actually getting more to the real dates of Artem proposing to Nikki. And I'm glad that like we know that at the end of the day they don't have to worry about like Nikki being pregnant because she actually is pregnant at this time. And yeah, that's how the episode ends. Tell me if you guys think that Bryan was being a bit standoffish this episode, because he seemed very irritated, but it could also be him kind of lashing out on the fact that Brie and his relationship isn't where they want it to be. Thank you guys for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, all the things that YouTubers say. And remember that I drop new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'll be dropping videos on Wednesdays when Stargirl comes out, and I think that's next week or the week after. But anywho, thank you again for watching my video, and don't forget to click on the playlist and subscribe and all that good stuff.